Have you ever watched a dog do something for the very first time? You know that moment when they surprise you with their curiosity and courage? Well, let me tell you about my dog Max, and the day he decided to climb a ladder for the very first time. Now, I know what you're thinking, dogs and ladders. What could possibly go wrong? But trust me, this was a moment I will never forget. So, picture this. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon, and I was doing some work in the backyard. I had a small project going on, fixing up the garden shed, and I needed to get a few things from the top shelf. I set up my ladder, and as I started to climb, I noticed Max watching me with those big, curious eyes of his. He's a golden retriever, full of energy, and always eager to join in on whatever I'm doing. I swear he thinks he's my little helper. As I reached the top rung, I glanced down and saw Max pacing back and forth at the base of the ladder, tilting his head from side to side. It was like he was trying to understand what I was doing up there. I could almost hear the wheels turning in his head. "What's up there? Is it fun? Can I do that too?" And that's when it hit me. He was contemplating climbing the ladder. Now, I'm not going to lie. My heart skipped a beat. Dogs climbing ladders? That's not something you see every day. But there was a spark in his eyes, a determination that I couldn't ignore. I decided to encourage him. "Come on, Max! You can do it!" I called down, and to my surprise, he took a few hesitant steps forward, sniffing the bottom rung. At this point, I was half excited and half nervous. What if he actually tried to climb? Would he understand how to balance himself? Would he slip? But then I thought, isn't that what life is all about? Taking risks, trying new things? So, I kept cheering him on, and slowly but surely, he took the plunge. He hopped up onto the first rung, and I swear it was like watching a toddler take their first steps. He was wobbly, unsure, but there was something so endearing about his determination. He looked back at me, tail wagging like crazy, as if to say, "Look at me! I'm doing it!" I couldn't help but laugh. It was such a pure moment of joy. Now, here's where it gets interesting. As he climbed higher, he started to realize that this was a little more challenging than he thought. The second rung was a bit of a stretch for his little legs, and he had to jump a bit to reach it, but he was undeterred. With each step, he gained more confidence, and I found myself holding my breath, hoping he wouldn't lose his footing. Who knew a dog could be so determined? It was like he was channeling his inner mountain climber, and I couldn't help but think about how relatable this moment was. We all have those times when we try something new, and it feels daunting. But sometimes, you just have to take that leap, or in Max's case, that climb. As he reached the third rung, he paused for a moment, looking around as if he was surveying his kingdom from up high. I could see the wheels turning again. He was processing this whole new perspective. It was a classic case of, the world looks different from up here. And it made me realize that we often get so caught up in our routines that we forget to look at life from different angles. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he made it to the top. I couldn't believe it. My heart swelled with pride as he stood there, looking down at me with that goofy grin of his. It was as if he had conquered Mount Everest. I cheered and clapped, and he barked happily, tail wagging like a helicopter. But then came the moment of truth. How was he going to get down? I quickly realized that descending was a whole different ballgame. He took a step back, and I could see the confusion on his face. It was like he was thinking, "Wait, how do I get back down? This wasn't part of the plan." I called out to him, trying to encourage him to come down, but he just stood there, looking a bit lost. It was hilarious and a little heartbreaking all at once. Here he was, this brave little adventurer, and now he was stuck at the top of a ladder, unsure of how to proceed. After a few moments of hesitation, he finally decided to take the plunge, literally. He hopped down a couple of rungs, but then he lost his footing and tumbled the last step, landing in a heap on the grass. Thankfully, he was fine, just a bit startled. He shook himself off, looked at me, and then started to wag his tail again, as if to say, "That was awesome. Let's do it again." And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? life is all about those little victories and the lessons we learn along the way. Max may have climbed a ladder for the first time, but he also taught me a thing or two about perseverance and the joy of trying something new. So the next time you see a dog attempting something ridiculous, take a moment to appreciate their bravery. Because sometimes, it's the simplest moments that remind us of the importance of stepping out of our comfort zones and embracing the adventure that life has to offer. And who knows, you might just find yourself climbing your own ladder in the process.